This discussion, we have with us today architect Kunal Mevcha, Managing Director, Vibrant Designs Private Limited. To tell you all a bit about him, with over 550 projects successfully completed all over the country, Mr. Kunal expertise spans industrial, commercial and residential interiors, each crafted to meet the highest standards of functionality and aesthetics. His approach integrates harmonious color schemes, thoughtful patterns and textured elements, transforming spaces into inspiring environments that of course align with the vision of the clients. I'll now be introducing our speakers in alphabetical order. We have with us today Mr. Harpal Dave, Additional Chief Town Planner, Town Planning and Valuation Department, Govt of Gujarat. Harpal ji has almost 15 years of experience in the field of urban planning and is involved in formulation of local area plan and town planning scheme for cities, facilitating implementation of online building permission system, model building bylaws, transit-oriented development, and of course, various related activities to those. We also have with us today Prashant Parmar, founder and principal Shayona consultant. Architect Prashant Parmar ji established his firm in the year 2000 called Shayona Consultant, which is today one of the most established architectural and interior practices in Gujarat. For over 24 years, the firm has delivered innovative design solutions for a wide range of developments through multidisciplinary expertise in the field of architecture and of course interiors, since we are talking about architecture over here. We also have with us today Rohit Chakraborty, Vice President Sales, Walplast Products Private Limited. Rohit ji has more than 15 years of professional experience and acumen and has demonstrated the expertise, leadership skills and abilities to drive results in complex business environments, which are of course very, very challenging on a daily note. Mr. Chakraborty, prior to joining Walplast, worked for leading organizations like Lafarge and Lloyd, where he gained valuable experience managing diverse teams and multiple portfolios. We also have with us today Mr. Shoaib Shaikh, Sales Head, Nemetschek Architecture and Design Business, Nemetschek India Private Limited, Nemetschek Group. To tell you all about Mr. Shoaib, he's a very, very, very dynamic sales leader with over 12 years of experience across the AEC, infrastructure, plant engineering, automotive, and software sectors. He has a proven track record in managing the complete sales cycle from market research to successful closure of projects. He specializes in helping AEC stakeholders enhance time and cost efficiencies through the implementation of various innovative technologies and workflows, as well as guiding venture capitalists and corporate innovation teams in identifying promising startups for investment and M&A. And we also have with us today the presence of Mr. Yatin Pandya, founder, Footprints Earth. Yatin ji is an author, activist, accommodation, researcher, so many multiple things all clubbed into one. Wonderful. As well as a practicing architect. He has been involved with city planning, urban design, mass housing, architecture, interior design, product design, as well as conservation projects. He has been the visiting faculty at National Institute of Design and CPT University and guest lecturer, critic to various universities all over the country as well as abroad. You know, ladies and gentlemen, the stage is set, the panel is ready, so I would now like to call all our speakers on stage. Please, a big round of applause for all our esteemed speakers as they join us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, our very own speakers for the first panel discussion of the day after a very, very enriching, exclusive conversation. Thank you so much to all of you. स्वागत है आप सबका यहाँ पे. बहुत-बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ यहाँ पे जुड़ने के लिए. It's an honor and privilege to have all of you. I'll request all of you to take your seats as per the photo arrangement. Yeah, so I'll request all of you to see, and yes, perfectly placed, thank you. Aesthetics on point. So you have the timer in place over there, and we are good to go. So thank you so much, we look forward.
Hello. So it's a real pleasure to welcome you on this platform, and today's topic is the urban vision, innovation, inclusion, sustainability. So these are not just the trendy words, these are the building blocks of how we imagine the shape of the future for our cities. In simple terms, urban life is changing fast, buildings are going vertical, tech is entering every corner, and lifestyle expectations are transforming. But amidst all of this, we have to ask ourselves, are our cities growing smartly, inclusively, and sustainably? So whether it is planning by the government, designed by the architects, innovations by the tech experts, or material from the construction world, सबका एक ही goal है, better cities, better lives. So today we have power pack panel with experts from different walks of the built environment, from urban planning and architecture to cutting edge technology, construction materials, each offering a unique perspective on what it takes to build future ready cities in India. And what sustainability means in the Indian context, not just environmentally, but economically and socially. So we aim to leave you with the insight, ideas, and hopeful inspirations. So my first question to Mr. Harpal sir. Sir, how is the government approaching urban transformation today in terms of inclusivity and long-term sustainability?
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here today. Good afternoon and pleasure to be here today. So the government, as far as the urban planning is concerned, the government's primary role is to prepare something which I think everybody is familiar with, something called the development plan, as far as the Department of Town Planning is concerned. So DP is nothing but more than it's more of a vision plan for how the city would grow in the coming 10 to 15 to 20 years. And along with that, we also prepare something called the development control regulations, which most of the practicing architects are very well aware of. Sir is, And that is kind of the leverage that the government has as far as, shaping the cities is concerned. So how the cities would grow, what areas will be developing, what areas would not be developing, they need to be conserved. For example, Thol Lake nearby the city of Ahmedabad, it's an area which is of pristine environmental, importance. And some areas have high development potential. So this is how, the lever which government has to regulate the planning and development. Coming to know, you use two words. First is inclusivity, and second is the sustainability part. To create something called an inclusive city, and by inclusive, what we mean is all the various segments of the society, including the economic segments, should find their place, to live, to work, to move around, even to, recreate and to have a good cultural experience of the city. For that to happen, I liked one of the interesting, while the moderator was speaking at the opening remarks, and what all the professionals go into the creation of a city. So not only good, urban planning would not work. You also need good quality architects, which you mentioned. So first level of macro planning is the urban development plan. In Gujarat, as all of us are aware, we also prepare something called the TP scheme, town planning scheme, which is a micro level planning tool. And so good quality macro plan, good quality micro plan, and also good quality designers, including the urban designer, good quality civil engineers, like we were speaking before a while, and also good quality execution on ground. If that works well, along with the good quality urban governance, then we have livable and inclusive cities. Thank you. I'll end at that.
Thank you so much, sir. So, sir, Prashant sir, I would like to have the one question to you. So, how can architecture design address both innovation and sustainability with traditional values in growing urban centers?
Good evening, everyone. So, as the moderator has mentioned earlier, that we are majorly into residential projects as well, and another segment in which we are working right now is a large-scale Hindu cultural community centers that we design globally, and more than 150 plus campuses we have designed that kind of cultural community centers. So, if we talk about these two things, innovation with the tradition. So that is the most important thing which we always need to incorporate while designing as an architect. It's our utter responsibility to of course get acquainted with the innovative systems right now, and of course we can't forget the cultural roots and the tradition also. So say for an example, out of many cultural campuses we are designing right now, most of them are large scale. So let me give you one example. So we are designing right now a Surat Akshardham campus, and that has been we have designing this since last 7 years. And in this span, the most important thing is the timeline. So the timeline is very short, and as you all know that the traditional Hindu mandir, which are being constructed from the stone, is very time-taking thing, and of course the integrated carving and all the, artisans, you need to find them and get them on the same page. It's a very difficult task for us. Of course, it's a budgetary matter also. So what we have done is, we have deployed more than 300 giant scale CNC machines. And what is the work of that machines? They are, they are just cutting the stones, and most of the work, we can say 75 to 80% job is been done by that CNC machines, and with almost 80% of the integrated carving will be done by that machines, and rest just 15-20% of the work will be done by the artisans. So in that way, we can reduce the time, we can reduce the budget as well, and the waste of the stone. That is, we can reduce in that also significantly. So in that manner, we can always, as an architect, we can always use the creativity and innovation technologies in designing this kind of traditional, or we can say cultural campuses, and we can retain our, and also, we can't forget our, the roots and the culture. So that's how we can, this is a simple example. So in almost all the BAPS campuses which we are designing right now, we are designing considering all these three aspects. First is innovation, inclusion, and sustainability. So this is a simple example I was mentioning about this.
Thank you so much, sir. Rohitji, I have a question for you. That is, how is the construction materials industry evolving to meet sustainable goals while staying cost effective?
Okay, wow. Thank you, Kunal, for asking me this question actually. So, in your question, you have used three words: innovation, sustainable goals, and cost-effective solution. Cost-effective solution, yeah. So, from my side, from my view, a construction, actually, building materials, construction, if I say, is divided into three parts. One is building material, one is the execution, which includes the contractors, builders, everything. And then another is the compliances, which includes the legal parameters, the acquisitions. There are a lot of legal parameters run in any kind of construction work. From a building material point of view, if you see, innovation plays a very vital role in a sustainable goal, actually. And in India, I am very proud to say that innovation is happening day and night. Every day innovation is happening, every field innovation is happening, especially in building materials. India is evolving in a huge way. Might be, I have been working in Walplast for quite a long time. We are working upon few products where we are evolving things. We are trying to cut down the carbon footprint, like products like gypsum, which are generally mineral-based products, where we are trying to replace the sand cement plasters, which is basically cling-based plaster, from where the carbon footprint can be reduced. We make products, we means the industry make products like curing plasters, where water consumption can be reduced. Places like Hyderabad, where hard water is a big problem. People face a lot of problems. IT parks face a lot of problems. The contractor face a lot of problems in manufacturing because of the hard water. Curing is a big problem there. So the curing compounds are used. And previously it was curing compound. Now it is a product which is like that. No curing compound, just you apply it. There are products in India. I will say we are also developing a product in gypsum background, where I will be very happy to say it is so efficient that one bag of gypsum gives 37 square feet of coverage, whereas normal it is one bag gives 19. So we are doubling. A product can give a double output. That is innovation, my friend. If a company can innovate products where time, manpower and money can get reduced, then automatically everything will be online altogether. And definitely, I think most of the companies are working upon carbon footprint nowadays. So as you rightly said, you are also doing a lot of things in social work. We are also into apply-supply jobs with our own spray machines. We have around 20 spray machines working day and night here and there. And we do apply some lock and key jobs of plasters, internal plaster, external plasters, and give back the job to the builder lobby or the contractor lobby. So these things are work, these steps which people are taking with the whole huge building material dynasty is taking its towards sustainability and goal. And definitely it works upon cost effective solutions also.
Thank you. Shoaib, so what role do digital tools and technology play in optimizing urban planning and execution?
Thanks, Kunal, for that question. It's an enabler. Like what Harpal sir said, they've made the master plan and the development plan, and even at the micro level, there are plans in place. Right? Prashant sir pointed out that timing is of the essence, and that's why he's using CNC machines. Right? Something which is more popular in the manufacturing industry, but he's using it for constructing or even making the designs which are kind of able to manufacture through CNC machines. I'm sure that he's adopting pretty good technology on the software front as well, right? Rohit ji said that for faster construction and sustainable materials, a lot of innovation is happening.
Yes.
And India is showing also the way for digitalization, of course. Most of our government records are now digitalized. We are leading the way on the finance side with UPI. Right? And I think it's time that Indian innovations will be emulated by other parts of the world, especially on the sustainability side. Where I come from is on the technology enabler side, which equips all these stakeholders in the environment. So we enable governments to kind of keep their records and plans in a digital format for all the planners and architects to fetch and inform their design decisions.
Great.
Okay. When we inform architects with the use of technology, how would they use any of our softwares, right? Like Vectorworks is for early stage design and planning and visualization. So people can actually superimpose their drawings or plans over the master plan which the government has made, okay, and run simulations through visualization, and then get not just the government approvals, but the public approvals as well.
Great.
Right? A lot of BIM technology or digitalization is being used at the execution level as well. Okay? We, as Nemetschek Group, believe in the open BIM format. So we are technology agnostic. Any tools, any technology that you might want to use, whether it's for CNC machines or kind of precast technology, the tools which equip these technology for actual execution would come from a software, right? And all our software will speak very well with any of these softwares. That's the open BIM promise that Nemetschek Group has done, and we are committed to that. And I think as we move forward, only kind of having digital twins of cities, like I know that Ayodhya was made into a digital twin. Okay, the plan for that is that any future development that happens would be able and available to all the stakeholders. Right? BMC, Bombay Municipal Corporation, has also started the process of making a digital twin of the entire city.
Okay.
So responses to what's happening in a traffic jam or a deluge because of a high tide, that will be able to be centrally monitored and executed.
That's super.
And Nemetschek is supporting all that.
Amazing, amazing. Yatin sir, the question is for you that how can design be used to empower communities, especially in marginalized and underdeveloped areas?
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to take few steps backward to see this in a particular context and a sort of a mindset, you know. First of all, India, and particularly in the context of India, we have what we call parallel cities. Most of the thing which is not affordable or cannot be reached, or what you want at what place, at what price, at what time, is what is delivered by the parallel system. So I think first of all, we need to change that perception from them being burden to them being possible resources. And that's for win-win for all, and especially for this real estate representatives here. There's a huge opportunity there. It's like, you know, the policy like Coca-Cola for masses rather than Rolex for the few. Okay? Unfortunately, what's happening is that more and more real estate is trying to cater to multi luxury segment versus there is a huge market for the underprivileged, and that's also the government mandate. So I think that public-private partnership or whatever format of model. One more fact we must understand is that this is a figure for the Bombay and maybe 1 or 2% here and there. 50, and in fact a lot of statistics says 50 to 60% of the population of Mumbai lives in what we otherwise call slums or squatter settlements. But the land area that they occupy is only 8 to 10%. So if 50% of Mumbai is only taking 10%, and yet we are after their land to say they are encroachers, you know, versus what makes them a slum are the lack of certain amenities. So I think we need to understand that where to intervene and the way to intervene, so with less resources, we can actually cover to a larger area, rather than just demolishing and rebuilding, okay? That also takes care of the cultural connotation, the ways of life. Right now, of course, a lot of real estate has entered into this segment, but we see the slums, which were just maybe ground, maybe little one, are put in 14 isolated towers. Whether that suits their lifestyle, and many of the post-occupancy studies have probably questioned that. Now here what I'm coming, not to sympathize with that, but in India and especially in urban centers, there is a huge favorable economics. The land prices tend to be 50 to 100 times than that of the construction price, okay? From 2,000 to 2 lakh. So what can happen is that if you see the built FSI of the squatter settlements or informal housing, it's only 7 or something, 0.5 to 0.7. So even if you go 4-story, you have huge open space left. You have accommodated 2 times more people despite claiming 1/3 or whatever percentage of land for marketable real estate. So that takes care of profit for those who engage in, and yet people get decent housing. Of course, with design, they can be made whichever way kind of more user-friendly, environment-friendly, etc., etc. So I think some of these mindsets need to be changed. So upgrading in the present place where they are is actually advantageous and win-win for all. Second, turning it into public-private partnership, a lot of housing market opens up, and of course, cities can become no-slum cities without removing the slum in the sense that we understand, but taking them as a resource. You know, there was also a scheme where people are willing to put in money. Even today, they have made their houses by pledging wives' jewelry or whatever. They have not asked for government to build that. So there is that portion that can also come into government to put up with that, okay? So I think this is just few examples of how human resources, land resources, and the rest of whatever others that come in can be seen as not a burden, but a resource, and things can solve the problem in more amicable way with cultural connotations served, environmental opportunities opened up, you know. Talking of specific to the environment, as I said, land, and that I want to put up also to the other segment. I think, is it not a time where urban areas are land-starved to come up with maximum, we have minimum standard for the room, probably it's a time to set a code for the maximum size of the room. What gave us a license to say 25 feet by 40 feet bedroom? I think even box cricket is smaller than that, perhaps, you know. So I think because that is the cause of everything. That means more material, that means more construction, that means more land, that means more air conditioning, even if we have 5-star and IGBC or whatever. And of course, we don't have land. Everything else we might be able to get. And as a result, we go far and far. Therefore, petrol, therefore, traffic, therefore, everything, you know. So I think route is to come back to maximum plot size. We had once land ceiling, not going socialist, but I think it's a reality. Brazil and many such places, you can't buy any more land, you know. So I think it's the right time for new construction as well as the existing what's happened, but to actually start with the space standard. And sorry, very shortly, I want to remind all of us, and in all my presentation I say, remember pandemic for better things. Sorry for many people's losses, etc. I think our history should be rewritten just to remember that episode rather than BC and AD, BC and AC, before Corona and after Corona, because without debate, we understood the value of frugality, sustainability, multiplicity, humility, plurality, equality, etc. One living room became a dining room, became a Netflix movie watching room, became a card playing room. So this multiple use of space, knowing the more fundamental value of being with a human being as human to human bond and being with nature and nature to human bond, I think soon we are going to forget that. So I think if we keep remembering that, it taught us that without compromising, how much we were able to do and do it well. So I think those are the reminders with which we have the policies, with which we have the action. I think we will definitely create a better planet.
Very well explained, sir. And adding to this, Harpal, sir, I have a question for the similar thing, that how do policies ensure that sustainability targets are not just theoretical, but practically enforced on the ground in cities of verifying size and capacities?
Yes. Before answering that question, I would like to respond to what Yatin sir just spoke about the maximum permissible standards of how big a space, a room can be and what is justifiably, required or no. So even I, at times, sir, we do reflect on these things, and there are parallels in other, sectors. For example, automobiles. In automobile, we are all aware there is for various brands, there is, in Maruti you have the Swift Desire and you have the normal Swift version. The only difference is the length. In one you have the boot, in one you don't have the boot. Same with Amaze by Honda, and there is a model called Brio, if I'm not wrong, Honda Brio. Same technology, same engine, same transmission, everything, only bus, the boot space is missing. The moment you add the boot, the cost goes high because the length of the car increases. So while the small car allows you mobility, which is a basic requirement in the city, the boot is an additional thing for which you pay too much, about 1.5 lakh of difference between Swift and Swift Desire. So one allows you, same with the how much liter your engine, the moment you go, I have a car called Honda Amaze, it has a displacement of 1498 cubic centimeters, 1498 cc. Because the moment you go more than 1500, the tax, slab changes. Because to a certain degree power is required for mobility, but the need for additional power by means of a more powerful engine is a luxury. And the government recognizes this very well, and they charge them extra. In the same, when we, basic human requirement for a house is how many square feet. The moment we go for, 2,500, 2,700, 3,000 square feet of houses, how many people would require, how much house do we require, how much big house do we need to live? So maybe an escalatory price on the development charge or something may be of use to allow people to nudge people to supply more in the mid-segment kind of houses. Same with electricity. So the more we consume, the slab of the electricity changes. Coming to your question, Kunal bhai, about the sustainability part, how does the policy hit the ground? When we talk of sustainability, how do we, bring it to ground? So first, in the present development regulations, we have recently come up with an amendment last year, which provides, if there is a green building rating, for example, if you have a building which has a silver rated green building, you must be aware in any of the areas in the city, in most of the areas in the city, you have something which is a base FSI which is free, which you can consume without paying any additional cost to the government. Second is the paid FSI. So if you have a silver rated building, you get 7% of paid FSI for free. You need not pay for that. Partly the idea is because the moment you have the green features in the building, the cost goes high. And how do you compensate that? If you have a gold rated building, you get 10% of free FSI. If you have, platinum rated building, you have a 12% of free FSI from the paid component. So that is where the regulation has made this provision. As far as TP scheme is concerned, we also have provision for 1% of land to be reserved for urban forest, which was the announcement made by the Honorable CM last year in one of the, a very positive welcome move. The city of Ahmedabad is also trying to move towards net zero, so many of the plans are, aligned with that. Many smaller towns in Gujarat are also now looking for the river rejuvenation, river development, and conserving the blues and greens within the city by use of the macro level and micro planning tools that we have. But many, many more things need to be done, and all of us need to join hands for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, adding to this, that for the Prashant, sir, that what design trends are you seeing that support long-term sustainability in urban residential and commercial spaces, and how do you balance client expectation with environmental concerns?
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, there are two segments in which we are working. So the another segment, that is large Hindu cultural community centers. I would like to quote one example here. Like BAPS, they are our clients, and we are designing a large-scale Hindu cultural complexes across globe for them. So say for an example, right now we are designing a huge cultural community precinct at Sydney, Australia, and that is the largest one in Australia continent. It's 25 acres land, and the construction is around 500,000 square feet construction area, built up area. Okay, so of course they really need the traditional aesthetic and the cultural, kind of aura in that interiors as well as the architecture. So as being an architect, I always feel like it's our responsibility while designing any kind of this kind of monumental scale projects. So of course the community buildings, like facility buildings, like the assembly halls and kitchen dining activities. So rather than going with the conventional stone buildings or stone work, what we have proposed them is precast RCC panels and cladded with the stone looking tiles. So that significantly reduces the cost and time. And if I'm talking about the monument mandir, so rather than using the stone construction, because it's not in India, right? So it's very difficult for us to, carve the stone here and to transport there and to assemble there. It's a very difficult task for the organizers as well, and also it adds too much of cost in that. So rather than using that conventional stone mandir construction system, we have proposed them with the RCC, not RCC, the panels, the precast panels for the mandir construction, and we are cladding it with stone carving. And the stones are just, 1 inch thick, and we have decided some of the sizes, and it has been carved out with the CNC machines, and we are cladding it with that. It gives exactly the same aesthetics which we get in stone carved mandirs. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, it reduces significant cost and time. So that's how we always, I always feel like it's our responsibility to make our clients aware of using different materials. So I was talking about this monumental scale building, and in other segment, in residential segment also, what we are always trying to make our clients to design their houses or the commercial spaces considering, the green energy concept, using, the natural resources, local resources, and, we can always use sun energy, and we can always create, courtyards and garden areas and vertical gardens. And in that way, we can make aware our clients for the sustainable things. Of course, some of them are, the initial cost are, of course, it's a bit higher. But if we talk about later on stages, it's very good for the society and for the sustainability. So in these two things we are always trying to balance, and we always try to convince our clients for the using sustainable materials and thinking over the society's future in this. Yeah.
Thank you. So if we talk about the material with the Rohit, that how do you see the role of alternative construction materials like AC blocks, premix plaster, or carbon natural products, which are growing in the next decade?
Okay, alternative constructions is more a shift of construction more than an alternative construction. Actually, I feel that it's a trend which has been followed and it's working good, actually. So if you asked me regarding AEC blocks, so I remember around 10 years back or 15, something around 15 years back, Ciporex was a company who launched it in Maharashtra at that time, and then I'm very fortunate to say all kind of trends start from west. It's Gujarat and Maharashtra, the trend followers, and then it go over the India or all the places of India. So AEC blocks, when it came into the market, it replaced the normal red brick market, which actually decreased the carbon footprint in a huge way. If anyone of us has seen a red brick clink, you can, just by seeing, you can understand what kind of pollution it creates actually. So AEC blocks is a boon to India, and now this boon has been shifted to modular structures, like where single modular structure, where formworks like aluminium formworks has been used. Now the shift is being, as sir said, precast is again a next level of innovation which is happening altogether. And when these kind of AEC blocks or these kind of products are being used, then innovation also works upon the chemicals to be used with these products to make them waterproof, bonded, so that the structure goes in a longer duration. The life of the structure also increases when we use these kind of product. Same thing with, you said, premix plaster, like ready-mix plaster. Again, it is a shift. I think Gujarat played a vital role, because I think most of the ready-mix plants are in Gujarat. Now this ready-mix plaster has been shifting from a normal sand cement plaster to sand plaster, which is manufactured sand plaster, the next level of ready-mix plaster, where instead of doing a river trenching, people will be encroaching the hills, and then they will make plaster from that, and it will help in making the environmental more green. So you didn't ask one thing more, in tile industry also, if you see, previously there was a small format tiles being used by all developers. Now it has been shifted with the help of all architects. It has been shifted to large format tiles, and the type 1 grade of adhesives are not being used now. Now it's an upscale. The innovation has been done. The whole construction has gone up. So these are things which are adding upon innovation, decreasing the carbon footprint, increasing the sustainability in building material segment altogether.
Thank you, sir. Shoaib ji, what are the top 1 or 2 digital disruption that you foresee in the AEC, like in architecture, engineering, or the construction sector, in coming next 5 years that could redefine urban development?
I think, of course, AI is going to impact everything. Okay? And not just urban development, but the way we design, build, manage and operate also. Because also, sir said that Ahmedabad is already gunning for net zero. That is the trend internationally as well. And I think it will be the way for a lot of cities to emulate. Okay? Like what I mentioned earlier on, digital twin of cities is another trend that will pick up. And to enable all of this, I think right now, the different stakeholders are working in silos. And that's why, even though one of the stakeholders was doing great use of technology, it wasn't being used by the others, right? We don't see much facility management happening through digital twins, okay? And that's why maintenance is peaking very high. The amount of energy consumption that the glass facade building take in India, Now, this is again something to ask architects is why most of the buildings in many of the cities that developed over the last 5-10 years just emulated glass buildings when it's not something which India is meant for. Okay, but maybe it's kind of the demand that came from developers. Fair. Correct. But despite that, if you use technology right from the design stage to the facility management stage and operate stage, okay, even after having or serving the needs of the developers or the international clientele, right? Developers are asking it because you get international clients because of that, right? They are easy on the eye for the approvers who are sitting in the West, right? So if we use better technology, better approvals, better green ratings, okay, I think the way forward is pretty good.
Adding on to this, what role do architects and planners have in empowering citizens to co-create urban spaces rather than simply consume them? And how can we education help to shape this mindset?
Okay, picking first word on education, I think it has to be at every level. Policymakers need to be aware about the consequences of the decisions and the policies that set up, For example, it's good to have those plans in place. I think there has to be 3 separate strategies, one for the heritage city in its own entirety. So why people even leave from there, so therefore strengthening them without losing the tradition or the heritage component of it, etc., etc. The working city, the present city and its own problems. And third is the future city. What I intend to put up here is the whole idea of a multi-nodal city. So it's a city made up of several cities. Why is Vastrapur not a city and Maninagar not a city? Actually, it used to be a time, right now, Bhopal. If you did have education centers there, I think a lot of people don't need to come out of Bhopal for anything. You have Tanishq also there, Honest also there, everything else is also there. So that used to be with Maninagar once and whatnot. So that would change the whole need to cross transit from one end to the other and likewise. So the kind of awareness about preparing those plans with 3 things, imageability, livability, accessibility and equality. Now, not as words, but as I say that if each center is equipped, and town planning scheme is a great kind of a tool, so that you have all those for the served population kind of facilities available there, at least there is a default option to dwell into that. So that's the kind of awareness or a kind of common thinking that needs to go. So the master plans need to be governed by a collective wisdom rather than one bureaucrat, one engineer, one chief minister or XYZ. I'm not blaming, but I'm just saying that that's where multi kind of knowledge system come in to create cities, a complex mechanism. Second is at the professionals or those actors involved in that, like he very rightly mentioned, the fetish that we have as an architect to give glasses. If we understand that even a glass facade with 1 meter awning at every window can reduce it by 30%. You don't need technology to reduce it to still 40% only with super expensive glass. And that not only does whatever to the building inside, but also gives 3% warmer temperature as how it was recorded in front of this Mayflower and Sunflower hospitals as south-facing facades, So I think just understand that what is optimal, and that's where supported by the building bylaws. I give a lot of value to building bylaws because it's finally the tool by which everybody is supposed to, even review the project proposals and whatnot. And often I find bylaws are very regressive. One example I often give is that I can do stupid architectural projection box of 2 feet in the margin, which is not an encroachment. But that 2 feet cupboard or 2 feet balcony that comes out, which is in a scarce, unaffordable land prices of Ahmedabad and India, is a good boon, is illegal. Okay? So many of these, if I had a 10 by 10 very modest room, but if I get 2 feet of cupboard jutting out only, my rooms are very good I get insulation from outside. It's just few examples. So I think mechanism or tool done for the intent rather than regressive, that, oh, you are always this and you are always, likewise. And third, of course, the upcoming generation to be aware about the priorities, about the consequences of all design decisions. I think research has played a lot of part, and also the tools have given indications, for Ahmedabad, what should be the minimum projection. Earlier, there was a 4-feet balcony free. And it was a great wisdom, because one 4-feet balcony allowed people to come out in the evening and sit, and therefore they didn't get into room and don't use air conditioner or fan. Not only that, it gave good protection to the building, both from sun as well as rain. So now even the facade life is also deteriorated, likewise. And it was given free as an incentive so that people rather do that. And as a result, even in and out, there's a lot of architectural merit into that. Now we only have boxes and we think we have progressed, we have done wonderful. I think we have just killed the creativity and in that sensibility about many other things, So even people to know, for example, with a lot of research, and I think in Tata they have made a norm that only 23% of openings or windows, of course it's by the orientation. So if we know some of these, then by default, we know 90 centimeter as the door width. So I think likewise, if we know some of these fundamentals about what creates negative impact on climate front, or what are the Indian norms for those standards and whatnot, that awareness would also bring that by default we would create something which is fundamentally appropriate. Then each one can even interpret it in multiple ways, So a lot of these, in terms of innovation, it doesn't have to be always high tech and whatnot, What I mean is that there's a whole segment of recycling the waste. We had a small demonstration done even in a slum, and using the municipal and the domestic waste, how it could be turned into building material component. Okay? So there is a lot of those kinds of avenues which are win-win for all, that rather than throwing a lot of these waste, because 3,200 metric ton of waste coming out every day, but what is that waste? If we see a huge mountain, but a lot of it is the dust from the street. If that is even salvaged and we make a block out of it, if we can just sieve and separate out, everything inorganic is sellable or usable. And only organic, again, there are microbial sprays that can turn into fertilizer and likewise. So it's not as difficult as it sounds, but I think the vision has to be right, and every segment, it has to percolate with that intent. Right now it's a firefighting, for car parking. I mean, there has to be a micro strategy that in existing building, there's limited new thing that you can do. And therefore, I think a lot of properties corporation need to buy to turn it into the facilities that it's needed, including the parking spaces. They don't have to just look for somewhere to find some, So I think it needs to keep up with the, so existing cities not deteriorating, while new ones you might put something else. So I think a lot of these goals, if they are there, I think the actions and the tools come about accordingly.
Harpal sir, I would like to add few words in adding to the Yatin sir's things.
I think when sir speaks, a lot of us listen. And what he,
I think one more area I think we have not discussed, not that we want to take their time more, is remember, as much as land, as much as energy, we are giving priority to water is going to be a huge crisis. So I think all those beyond certain scale building, we had done Bandra-Kulla Complex Urban Design Guidelines, and each building had to, at least for air conditioning, harvest its own rainwater. Okay? So I think metering of the water, some tap on not car washing water that you can use as much as again somebody having to pay for distillery bottle equivalent of water price or whatnot. I think there has to be some tab on mining of water mindlessly from the ground. As much of harvest, I think Ahmedabad should not boast about the riverfront. I think it should be like Udaipur, city of lakes. There are as many lakes, and what in Gujarati we used to call it bodu. Whenever there is a land, it's never a flat land. The land would come into one depression which was always, so we have Malav Talav, Chandola Talav, you know, as many talavs that you can, as many names of the area, as many talavs were there. If we rejuvenate, there will be no flooding, it will be percolating, it would be groundwater resource rich. We used to have 60 feet pump, hand pump available and possible. So I think water is another area for our own sustenance and policy to kind of dwell into.
In fact, just to add to that, sir, very briefly, the present regulations do have provisions for the mandatory installation of wastewater recycling plants within the building units, provided the project is more than 100 dwelling units. And the wastewater which is recycled has to be reused in the same, you know, for gardening or for washing cars or for reflushing. So there's a dual plumbing system. Now, there are technologies available which allow us to do. I recently visited one of the residential such complex where it was working very well. But it also puts a lot of onus on the private sector and the residential, you know, the societies, whatever the cooperative societies, the residents themselves, to see that this is maintained and operated very well. Many a times we see that after the building use permission is granted, these, you know, services are not so very well maintained.
So I would like to say that what a fantastic exchange of ideas this has been, and आप सब speakers ने जो insights दी है वो सिर्फ informative नहीं but truly thought provoking है. So आज के discussion से एक बात clear हो गई कि city planning is no longer just about road, rules and real estate. It's about people, purpose and possibility. And we heard new technologies can save time and money. Now design can uplift our communities. Low prices can enable smart development, and how material are getting greener and better. लेकिन जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है वो है हम इंक्लूसिवनेस और सस्टेनेबिलिटी के बिना प्रोग्रेस इमेजिन नहीं कर सकते. एक गुजराती कहावत है, ગામનો વિકાસ ત્યારે થાય જ્યારે બધા માટે થાય. Urban growth only matters when everyone benefits from it, either it is rich, poor, young, old, center or outskirts. So we close this session today, and I invite all of us, architects, planners, policymakers and citizens, to take these ideas back to our day-to-day work. छोटी छोटी चेंजेस ही जब विजन के साथ किए जाए तब सिटी का फ्यूचर बदल सकता है. So thank you once again to our panelists for sharing your time and wisdom. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a full house. और जोर से तालियों की गूंज हो सकती है. Please, if I may request, thank you so much. I'll request all of you to please kindly wait on stage, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to be inviting Mr. Arya Dalal, High-Tech Projects, on stage to please kindly give away the token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers over here. Do we have Mr. Dalal over here? Mr. Oh, yes. Yes, please give him a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. I'll request all of you to please kindly stand up, and I'll request you to give the mementos. Yeah. And all I can say is that it was a very pertinent topic, so thank you so much to all of you for sharing your knowledge and insights. And like I said during the first exclusive conversation, I was there the last time, I enjoyed this time, and I hope to see you all the next time as well. Can we do a nice group photograph? I'll request all of you to come a little forward, please, for a nice group photograph. Please join. Yeah. Thank you so much. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आप सबका. Thank you.